ॐ अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. So, welcome to this session. This is our second session. So, quick recap of what we did in the last session. We went through earlier to this PPT. We saw a basic introduction to Bhagavad-gita. Then we got into the concepts of Atma and Anatma. These, I said, are the most basic two concepts that we need to know. We distinguished between Atma and Anatma as living being versus non-living being. That which has consciousness versus that which has no consciousness. We discussed these kind of things. Then we went into more detail by classifying with the help of this table. The Atma is that which has Chaitanya, Chit, Ajit. The material thing or an Atma has no Chaitanya, it's Ajit. Similarly, Nitya, Shashvata, Sanatana, the Atma, whereas Anitya, Shashvata is the Anatma. Then Ajaha, Janma Mrityu Rahitaha, no birth, no death, whereas Anatma is always born and dying. Inconceivable, the Atma. It has to be understood to some extent with logical reasoning, but beyond that, we need to take help of the Shabda Praman or Shastra. Whereas the material thing can be understood with our senses and the mind as well. Then Avinashi, destructible versus indestructible versus destructible. Then these properties like Achedya, Dahya, Kletya, Shoshya, and the opposite. Then which doesn't transform. The Atma never transforms, it remains the same, and material thing transforms. Atma is present everywhere, whereas Anatma is not present everywhere. Then Sthanuhu, Achalaha, fixed. So this also comes from the property of non-transforming, that which remains the same always. So it is fixed, steady. So these are different words to help us understand the fine shades of meaning. That's why different words are used. Avyaya, which doesn't erode. Vyaya Sahitaha, which erodes. And Avyakta, which is not manifest, means it's not manifest to our senses. It exists, very much has an existence, and we exist, right? When I say it exists, it means we exist. But we are not having a physical form. It's our body which has the physical form. That's the meaning of Avyakta. It is not perceptible to the senses. And again, the same spelling mistake. It's Vyakta. This should be Vyakta. This is Avyakta. Then Aprameya versus Prameya, that which cannot be measured or that which is infinite. Or even when we say that Jivatma is Anu or small, it is so small that it can't be measured. So whichever way you look at it. And the material thing always has a measure. Big or small, there's always some scale on which you can measure it. So then we also touched upon the Chandogya Upanishad, this particular portion which describes properties of the Atma. And when I was describing this, I said that these kind of descriptions are present in various places in the Upanishads. They help us to contemplate on ourselves and to contemplate on Bhagavan as well. And in particular, in the path of Jnana Marga, the path of Jnana Yoga, this is particularly useful because it gives us the thing to contemplate upon. So I'll come to that again when I take the questions. After the session, we stopped the last session with the previous slide, and then Ashita sent me a write-up of what she understood. In that, she had 5 questions, and I have put those 5 questions on this slide. So I'll first address those questions, and then we can have a discussion just to check if you have understood whatever I have in mind before we go forward to the next thing. The idea is here is just not a lecture, but it's about understanding the concepts well. And the best way to understand is to do it slowly so that until we understand one thing, we don't go to the next thing. So the first question was, how is yoga a process of eternal well-being? Now, I'm going to deal with yoga in much more detail as we go forward. But now, for now, let me briefly explain. The word yoga, what does it actually mean? The simple meaning of the word yoga in Sanskrit is union or joining. Any kind of joining, not only what we are referring to now in Bhagavad-gita, but anything, any two things. Now I take my two hands and I join them like this. This is yoga of the two hands. So you join, let's say two railway wagons are joined. That's how you make a train, right? So when they join, that's a yoga of the two wagons. So yoga comes from the Sanskrit root yuj, means to join or combine, connect. So yoga means connection, joining, combination. So how is it a process of eternal well-being? Yeah. So this is referring to in Bhagavad Gita the connection between the living being, that is each one of us, and with the supreme being, Bhagavan or God. So connection between the living being and God is the meaning of yoga in Gita and in our Indian knowledge system. This is the meaning of yoga. So yoga refers to connection between the living being and God. Number one. Number two, the process by which that connection is done. The process. So, connection, the state of being connected is one meaning of yoga, and the system of practices, the processes, the practices, which helps us to achieve that connection. Right? Currently, we don't have the connection. To go from no connection to connection is a process or a system, and that system is also called yoga. So yoga is used both as a system, I mean to refer to a system, and to refer to the conclusion or the end, the state of being in yoga, the connected state. Okay. So now why is this a process of eternal well-being? Because until we practice it, until we do those things, those activities, we can't achieve that connection with God. Right now, we don't have connection with God. Many of us don't even believe that God exists. We think that whatever we see around us, that is what exists. What we cannot see or what we cannot perceive with our instruments, those things don't exist. So it's all imagination. Now, to overcome that state of not understanding God, not connecting with God, and eventually connecting with Him, we need a system of activities. So those processes or the system involves different activities like uh, dhyan, meditation, atma nigraha, control of the senses, control of the mind, particular lifestyle, the kinds of food we eat, how we sleep, how we eat, how we engage in recreation, our whole lifestyle, everything. So various things that form a part of our existence now. Those, when done in a particular way, becomes yoga. Yoga is doing them in a particular ordained way, the way the Shastra describes what should be done, should not be done, etc. So that takes us to that state of eternal well-being, because being connected with God is a state of eternal well-being. That's where we really are happy. To help you to understand what that also means is just like a fish in water. So analogy is used of fish in water. When a fish is in water, uh, it's very natural there, right? Now, when a fish is in water, you don't have to train the fish how to swim or how to breathe or how to do, all its other things like reproduction or anything else. It naturally does those things. It naturally comes to that fish in that state. But suppose the fish is removed from water, it's taken on the land. Okay, someone tells the fish that, look, in the water you can have access to only a few things. You can only see some plants under the water, you can see some rocks, you see a lot of water. But if you come to the land, you see a lot more. There are birds in the sky, there are trees, there are plants, there are so many, there are gardens. You can enjoy. So come outside. So now somebody takes the fish outside. What will happen? The fish cannot even breathe properly. Okay. Within a few seconds, the fish will start twitching and turning and gasping for breath. And within a minute or so, if you don't put it back in water, it will die. That is our condition. We are in a condition right now where we are not connected to God, which is our natural state, being connected with God. But we are in an unnatural state of not being connected with Him, and so there is suffering. We go through states of suffering and enjoyment. So therefore, the process which takes us back, puts the fish back in water, puts us back to where we actually belong, right? That is the process of eternal well-being. It takes the fish back to its state of normal being. So normal being, it's actually well-being. Whereas not normal being like we are now is not well-being. Okay, so that answers the first question. Ashita, are you comfortable with my answer? You want to ask more on that, or shall I go forward?
Yes, sir, I have understood completely. Thank you.
Okay, now is the ultimate goal of yoga and dharma the same? Yes, ultimate goal is the same. Yoga is nothing but a particular form of dharma. Dharma is the larger set. Yoga is a subset. So, what is not yoga in dharma? That is what I use the term samanya dharma. Now, a lot of Veda, a lot of content in the Veda and also in the Puranas and we can say Indian knowledge system pertains to dharma, which is strictly speaking not yoga. That part of dharma only tells us how to live in a way in this material world, okay, like the fish living on the land, in a proper way by which that person can be still happy and peaceful. Now, suppose somebody devises, let's say, a small instrument by which a fish can breathe on land. Okay, like we wear oxygen mask when we go to the space or we climb a mountain, we wear an oxygen mask so we get oxygen. Similarly, let's say somebody devises a particular instrument by which the fish can attach to its mouth and its gills and it can breathe. Okay, then the fish will say, look, I can breathe here, I can live here. And similarly, if somebody devises something by which the fish can eat on the land, the fish will survive on the land, right? Now, that is Samanya Dharma. Samanya Dharma is practices which ensure that we can be happy, peaceful, united, even without connecting with God in a direct way, like the way yoga tries to do. We still have to connect with God in Samanya Dharma too, but in a relatively more indirect way, where we don't have to really think of God all the time. We can think of our enjoyment, our family, our ahankara. Our ahankara can be still there. Like I am the king, I am this, I am that, and enjoy material life. That is Samanya Dharma. So those Samanya Dharma properties, of course, when they are focused towards enjoyment in particular, when the goal of the Samanya Dharma becomes enjoyment in some parts of the Veda, a lot of Veda actually is devoted to that. It's called Kamya Karma or Karma Kanda, where you try to exploit the Shastra or use the Shastra for enhancing enjoyment. Okay. Now, today, in society, even in India, forget about outside India, which never knew the Shastra. In India, we know the Shastra, but still, in India, predominantly people don't study the Shastra or don't know it or don't give any value to it, right? They just want to enjoy. They make money, buy luxuries, indulge in different types of activities of enjoyment. Now that is Kamya Karma without Dharma. It's Adharmik Kamya Karma. Now Shastra gives us Dharmik Kamya Karma. So what is the difference between them? When you do Dharmik Kamya Karma, then you can actually ensure that society as a whole is peaceful. Everybody can peacefully enjoy their senses and so on. But when we do it without Shastra, without the proper guidance of Shastra, then you see what's happening now in society. There's so much corruption, there's so much crime, okay, abuse. Everywhere there is, fighting, abuse, all kinds of. If you take the newspaper in the morning, all the headlines you see, 80% of the headlines pertain to something unpleasant. Some accident happened, this happened, some murder, some rape, some this, they're all unpleasant news in the morning itself, right? That is because there's no Shastra. If Shastra is there, enjoyment is possible, but without all that crime and everything. So now do you understand the difference? So Samanya Dharma and Yoga Dharma. Yoga is when we go beyond that enjoyment and we say, no, I want really eternal well-being. And I'll practice that dharma which gives me that well-being. Now, even within that yoga, there are many levels. So I'll explain to you as we go forward why bhakti and prem. Prem means that pure love of God, experiencing love with God. That is the highest form of yoga, the best form of yoga. So within yoga also, which is taking us towards eternal well-being, there are different shades of different, levels you can say. So we'll talk about all that. Shall I go forward now? And so, Ashita, in the second question, did you have any further things to clarify? Was everything clear, or you want to ask something that was not clear?
The clear.
Okay, good. Now, third question is the properties of Atman are referred to as contemplation on Jnana Marga. Yeah, that's what I said when I showed the Chandogya Upanishad portion. Yeah, so Jnana Yoga, what I was referring to is Jnana Yoga, or also known as sometimes Jnana Marga. There, the process or the system involves predominantly contemplation on the knowledge, theoretical knowledge. So when you read, for example, in the last slide, what I show you, you just read it, it's just theoretical knowledge, right? You don't actually realize it, you don't feel it. It's there. And theoretically, if somebody asks you a question in the exam, you can answer it, you'll get full marks. But it doesn't mean that you actually experience that. So, Jnana Marga is the process by which you try to contemplate on that theory again and again. You sit down, you meditate on that itself. I am the Atma, I am free from hunger, I am completely free from thirst. All these things don't bother me. You do it particularly when you are actually doing tapasya, along with tapasya. For example, let's say I'm doing fasting, Ekadashi or whatever fasting. Okay, now 2 days back there was Chhat Puja here in Bihar and some parts of UP. Maybe you people also do. Do you do it, Ashita, in your family? Chhat Puja? No. So different, yeah, some communities like here in Bihar, it's very popular in some places. So in Chhat Puja, one of the days at least one day they do complete Nirjala, means they don't drink even water. Forget about solid food. So naturally, during that time, the mind is not in its normal state. The mind will crave for food and it will crave for water. It will experience thirst. It will experience hunger. The body experiences all that, right? It's not, everybody will. So even a yogi will experience all those things. But the yogi, what the yogi does is he trains the mind by using that theoretical knowledge, which I showed you in the last slide. Using that, the yogi will contemplate and say, look, you're not the body. You don't really feel hunger. The body feels the hunger, not you. Right? The body feels thirst. You're beyond that. You can take anything. You will never get burned. You can sit in the middle of fire. It's your body which will feel the heat, not you. So this way we contemplate and then we find that yes, actually we can. We can tolerate hunger. We can tolerate. And then we go towards the realization. See, how are you able to tolerate? You are able to tolerate because you are not the body. You are the Atma. You are the Shuddha Atma. So by doing this repeatedly again and again, this separation from the body is actually experienced. The Jnana Yogi experiences that. And ultimately it reaches a state where the Jnana Yogi is able to, it doesn't have to do that. It doesn't have to anymore forcefully contemplate. It becomes natural. Naturally, the yogi continues to experience it and feels completely happy within himself. He sees the body only like a dress, like the way the dress that we wear. We know the difference between the dress and our body. Same way, between the body and the Atma, the yogi can feel that when they reach that stage. Okay, so that is why contemplation is a part of Jnana Yoga. Shall I go forward now? Okay, next. Colloquially, it's believed that when a person dies, he or she takes rebirth. So, in this rebirth, does the Atma remain the same? And is the body that? Yes, the Atma always is the same. So, only the body is different. Okay, so right now, for example, I am in this body and I call this body as Ajit, or I call myself Ajit because I think I am the body. So, now in my previous birth, I had a previous birth, I don't remember it. But after I read the Shastra, I sort of come to know that yes, I was existing, but my body obviously was different. It looked different. Uh, I don't know where it was, how it looked like. I have no clue. Similarly, after I die, if I have not got mukti, then I would have the next body. It'll also look different from this body and it'll get a different name. uh, Whoever my parents are or whatever, they will give me a different name. I'll call myself by that name. I'll have a different identity. I may not remember. Most likely, I'll not remember that I was Ajit in my previous birth, etc., etc. And I may be a different, I like now I'm a professor. So I'm thinking I'm a professor, I'm a professor. But at that time, I'll become something, maybe a soldier or something. And I'll think I'm a soldier. So Atma is the same. The body and the identification, the upadhi, that's called upadhi. Upadhi means the attributes. Upadhi refers to attributes or designations which we attach to the body, like Ajit, professor, etc., Ashita, doctoral scholar, girl. So all these are designations of the body. They are not of you or me, right? You and me remain the same as we are, body after body. The body is what changes. Ashita, is it clear, or you want to ask a follow-up question on this?
It's clear, sir.
Okay. But we will be doing all this in much more detail. Whatever answers I'm giving you, we'll go into more terms and explain each of them in more detail. Okay, just like the difference between Atma and Anatma, what is the difference between Buddhi and mind? Whether brain is a part of the Buddhi or a mind? This is a very, very important question. Here, you should understand that Buddhi, mind or Manas, brain, all of them are Anatma. And they all are part of a body. Like brain is the physical organ, right? A biological organ. It is part of the gross body. What in English is called the gross body. In Sanskrit, we say stula shariram, stula. Stula means gross. Gross, which we can feel with our own senses, our 5 or 6 senses that we have. We can feel it, right? But then that is not the only body we have. We have another body called Sukshma Shariram, or also called Linga Shariram. Sukshma Shariram, Linga Shariram, these are words used to refer to the other body we have, which is also called in English a subtle body. Subtle means that which cannot be perceived with the senses. At least with the 5 gross senses, we cannot feel it. We can perceive it with the mind. The mind itself is a part of that Linga Shariram. Mind and Manas and Buddhi both are a part of that Linga Shariram. You follow? Similarly, Ahankara. Ahankar is another element, material element, that's also a part of the Linga Shariram or Sukshma Shariram. So, yes, the Buddhi and mind are two different things. Buddhi or Vivek, we also say Vivek in Hindi or in Sanskrit, Vivekaha, refers to that discrimination, that faculty in us which enables us to discriminate between this and that, right and wrong, okay, boy and girl, whatever. Discrimination between any two things, okay, especially between right and wrong. We say, this is the right thing to do, this is the wrong thing to do. This is something I ought to do, something I ought not to do. It's called buddhi. So we say a person has good intelligence when they are able to clearly identify what is right and do that and get the benefit of that. We say somebody has bad intelligence when they think that what otherwise would be considered wrong, what an intelligent person would consider wrong, that person thinks is right, and opposite. We say that person has poor intelligence or durbuddhi, is a durbuddhi, right? So intelligence is that faculty, or buddhi is the faculty which helps us discriminate, whereas manas is nothing but the substrate, or you can say the tool or the element which helps us to, or which makes us or shows us our thoughts. We are able to see our thoughts. The thoughts actually originate from the desires and everything originate from the Atma itself, from us. We are the one who thinks. But where do we see those thoughts? We see the thoughts in the mind. The mind is the substrate on which the thoughts become visible to us. Right? So it's only through the mind that we can actually approach the Shastra. We need buddhi and mind right now, at this moment, to approach the Shastra. If we don't have them, then we are not able to access anything. We cannot access the Shastra, or we cannot access each other. We can't even talk to each other. We need them to experience those thoughts and analyze those thoughts and make sense of them, etc. The mind and the buddhi together do that. So, and the brain is not a part. The brain is just, okay, so how does the brain come into the picture here? Now, the brain is a physical organ which helps us to actualize it. Means uska abhivyanjak hai, abhivanjak sthan hai. Just like the senses, like we say, for example, the difference between chakshur indriyam and netram. Chakshur indriyam refers to the sense of sight. The sense of sight is not the same as the eye. The sense of sight is a part of the sukshma shariram. It's a part of the subtle body. The eye is a part of the gross body. The eye is the organ through which the sense of sight actually is able to operate. Without that, the sense of sight cannot operate. It is like this. I'll give you an analogy. A driver is a human being who knows how to drive. He has the skill of driving. The skill is present in him. But unless he has a vehicle which has the potency by which it can be driven, a car, let's say a car or a bike or whatever, with the ability to be driven, right? That skill in the driver cannot be used. It will remain a skill with that person. The person will not be able to drive unless that vehicle is available. So the brain is that vehicle through which the mind operationalizes its act of thinking right now, right? But does the mind require the brain? Yes, right now it does, because we are in that state. We are in the material state. Now, after we leave this body, let's say death, when death happens, we leave the body, and then the gross body is not there, but the Linga Shariram goes with the Atma until it gets Mukti. So the Sukshma Shariram covers the Atma. It remains with the Atma when it goes into the next body, gross body, right? So during that period also, the Atma experiences thoughts. So even without the gross body, thoughts are experienced, but not with the brain. There's no brain at that time. The brain has been left behind. It is gone. But even then, the manas is present. The buddhi and manas are present, and that Atma also, without the gross body, can think. It experiences thoughts in whatever way. It observes dreams or whatever it experiences something. Thoughts remain. And then it goes into the gross body again and gets a new brain in that body. And then the brain experiences it. So what do the neural scientists, the neuroscience today, and all the doctors who do brain surgery, and they use these instruments. Even for example, yesterday in your mail you mentioned the name of Pooja. I think you referred to Pooja Mohanty, our counselor, no, or some other Pooja. Okay, Pooja, we have a counselor on the campus called Dr. Pooja Mohanty. She's actually a medical doctor come neuroscientist, and she also counsels students. All students, when they have stress and anxiety, they go to her and receive some counseling. She's a very good counselor, and she's a good human being too. I know her personally. So she deals with instruments, all kinds of instruments she has, medical instruments, which are able to sense the signals in the brain and detect the brain is now lit up. She tells me now, sometimes I put the instrument on the student and I can see the brain lighting up, and sometimes I don't see it lighting up. It's very dark. So she has instruments which can sense the brain. So these instruments actually are able to sense the brain when it goes through different types of thoughts, right? So the brain is just like a device, like a mobile phone or something, which has electrical signals. So there are different kinds of signals similar to electrical signals which operate in the brain. But the brain is very different from the mind, and the mind uses the brain to operate. So I've told a lot of things in answering this question. Ashita, are you confused, or is it more or less okay?
It was okay.
More or less okay. Okay, we'll come
Yes.
back to it again when we go forward, when we deal with more concepts. This will come back. These things will keep coming back. Right? So as we hear it again and again, it will become more clear. Okay, does Vedangi have any question? Vedangi has been silently hearing everything.
No questions so far, sir.
You're also okay? All right,
Yes, sir.
good. So with this, we completed what we have done so far in the first session. We also revised with some questions. So now I'll go forward. Today's concepts, I'll go for about half an hour or so, and then again we can come back to doubts, right? So the next thing I wanted to show you was this, that we spoke about Atma versus Anatma. Now within the Atma, there is this major distinction that we should first understand. Paramatma versus Jivatma. Okay, now this is at the heart of all Vedantic schools philosophy. Although between them, how they understand Paramatma, Jivatma, there are differences. But all of them accept these two terms, Paramatma and Jivatma. Now, Paramatma is used to refer to the universal being. Universal being means, the understanding is in all the schools, that there is only one being which exists. There's only one reality. And that reality is called Paramatma, also referred to as Bhagavan, Ishvara, Parameshwara, etc., etc. Brahman. Brahman is a major term. So all of that, there's only one being referred to in different places by different terms. That is the universal. The word universal here in English means that it is all encompassing. Everything is inside it. Matter, anatma, atma is inside it, it's paramatma. Paramatma includes everything. Matter comes from it. Also called supreme being in English because it is superior to the jivatma. Jivatma is the infinitesimal being, each one of us. Okay, each one of us is the jivatma, and we are a part of the Paramatma. Bhagavad-gita says, Mamaivamsho jiva loke jiva bhutas sanatana. Jivatma is eternally my part. It's part of me. So Paramatma, Brahman, Bhagavan, Ishvara, Parameshwara, different terms for that supreme being. There is only one and only one. There's one and only one Paramatma. The Jivatmas are infinite in number. Okay, so each one of us is a Jivatma and there are infinite Jivatmas and they are distinct from each other. Now, all the schools accept this distinction. In Vedantic schools, one of the schools, Advaita Vedanta, says that this distinction is only temporary, means it's under the influence of Maya that we think there is a distinction, but in reality there is no distinction. Jivatmas, there's only one being that thinks that it is the Jivatma. Okay, so now don't bother about that. Don't bother about difference between Advaita and non-Advaita. We'll come back to it later, much later. Right now we will take it like this only. Jivatmas are infinite in number and distinct from each other. All Jivatmas are a part of, but distinct from Paramatma. So Jivatma never becomes the Paramatma. Eternally, we are Jivatma. So Jivatma remains Jivatma, Paramatma remains Paramatma, and Jivatma is a part of Paramatma. So this is a little difficult to understand. How can something be part of some other thing and that other thing be everything? So it's a little bit confusing, but don't worry, just take it for now like that. There's also a beautiful shloka in the Ishavasya Upanishad, begins with that. It says, Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. That is, there is one Purna, complete being. Purna refers to that complete being, that complete universal being. Now from that Purna, uh, another being comes out, which is also Purna, but the Purna remains Purna. It doesn't become divided. It doesn't become smaller than its earlier form. So even when you subtract something from that, a new form is created, which is also complete in itself. Okay, so how do we understand? Because now if I take out, for example, if in a bag there are 10 items, I take out one item, then the bag will have only 9 items remaining in it. So how can it be that we take out something from the Purna and that also is Purna and the original one also, doesn't it become 2 times Purna? No, there's only one Purna even then and it remains Purna. So the closest analogy we can give to understanding this probably in the material world is let's say a candle, okay, or a flame. Okay, you have a fire. Let's say there's a big fire. Okay, there's a huge fire burning somewhere. Let's say some big heap of hay is burning somewhere, and there's a huge fire. And you take a candle nearby, and somehow you manage to go near that big candle, big thing, and you light the candle. Now the candle gets the fire now, but even when the candle gets the fire, that big fire remains the big fire. It doesn't become smaller. The quantity of that fire remains that much only, or it becomes even more because the hay is still burning, but it never becomes less because a candle was lit from it. And similarly, you can light infinite candles, but that original fire will remain the same. Each candle can be used to light infinite more candles. So the flame can spread without becoming smaller than the original flame or reducing the original flame. So this is a crude analogy for understanding this, how Atma can become more Atma, but without becoming more Atma or without becoming less Atma. So this is something that we will come back to, how Bhagavan expands himself in different ways, including as the Jivatma. Okay, now connected to all that we have been doing, 3 important terms should be understood, and these come in the 13th chapter of Bhagavad-gita. So I'm now going to the 13th chapter to identify 3 terms which are connected to all that we have spoken. So these 3 terms are Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and Jnana. So what do they mean? So the first shloka of the 13th chapter is like this, or actually second shloka in one sense, because the first shloka Arjuna asks 6 questions and some editions of Bhagavad Gita don't have that shloka. And they list this as the first shloka. Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Idam Shariram Kaunteya Kshetram Ityabhidhiyate Etadyo Vetti Tam Prahuhu Kshetragya Iti Tadvidaha. So Shri Bhagavan says that this material body is known as Kshetra. Kshetra means field, actually, field. The field in which we operate. Okay, all the activities we do in the field. So this body, he says, essentially is that field. Everything actually happens through this body in the material world. Okay, now in PhD you do field study. Some of you are practically all of you, because very rarely I've seen a PhD which is only conceptual. So practically all students go to the field, means they go to the outside world and they meet people, they collect data, then they analyze the data. So that's what we refer to as the field, a place where activities happen. Similarly here, all the essential activities, or prana or vichara, everything happens in this body. So that's the primary field. So it's called kshetra. And those who understand the kshetra refer to a person who also understands it as kshetragnya. In simple words, the person who knows the field is called the kshetragnya. Nya, the suffix nya is added to mean a knower of something, anything. Okay, so vignya means a person who has specialized knowledge or anything. If you want to say a person who knows cricket, so cricket gnya means a person who knows cricket. So gnya can be added to any word to say that a person who knows that thing. So knower of the kshetra is kshetragnya. And so doing yoga, so eventually everything is connected to yoga. Any term that's introduced in Bhagavad-gita has some connection to yoga. So in yoga, these terms come because a part of Jnana Yoga, see 13th chapter begins the section on Jnana Yoga. Like I said, the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gita are predominantly Karma Yoga. Oh, I have not said it before, I'm saying it now. The middle 6 chapters are predominantly Bhakti Yoga, and the last 6 chapters are predominantly Jnana Yoga. Although in each of these 6 chapters, the other forms of yoga also are touched upon. So here, the section on Jnana Yoga begins, 13th chapter. So he introduces these terms because in Jnana Yoga, knowing these things theoretically, contemplating on them is very important. So, Kshetrajna. And then he says, Kshetrajnam chapi mam vidhi ksharva kshetreshu bharata kshetra kshetrajnayor jnanam yat tat jnanam matam mama. He says, know me also to be the kshetrajna, not only the jivatma. The jivatma, of course, when he starts contemplating and comes to know the kshetra properly, then he is kshetrajna. But I am also present in all the kshetras because Sri Bhagavan is present with every living being. The Jivatma is never alone. Jivatma also has Bhagavan inside him. So, naturally, when the Jivatma is present in a body, the Paramatma or Bhagavan is also present with the Jivatma in every body, in every kshetra. And therefore, the Bhagavan also is a kshetragya. Bhagavan also knows every kshetra. And so he says that in my opinion, jnana, right, the third term, jnana, is knowledge about kshetra and kshetrajna. So as the jnana yogi in the path of jnana marga contemplates on the body and contemplates on the knower himself, Atma, Jivatma, as the knower of the body. I am not the body, I am just the knower of the body. He contemplates like that. That knowledge that is formed as the result of the contemplation is called jnana. So when we say Jnana Yoga, the path of Jnana, what is the Jnana we are referring to? We are referring to this realization. This realization that I am not the body. I am the knower of the body. I am the person who lives in the body and knows the body, but I am not the body. Correct? It's just like now I am a student of psychology. I am a student of psychology. I am not psychology. I am a person who knows psychology and I know how to use it. I am different from psychology. I know psychology. I am a knower of psychology, like that. I am the kshetrajna, I am not the kshetra, and that knowledge is jnana. So the word jnana has a specific meaning in Bhagavad Gita in the context of jnana yoga. Of course, in other places, jnana also means knowledge about bhakti, knowledge of love, knowledge of so many other things. That is the general meaning of jnana. But here, in this context, jnana refers to that knowledge of difference between the atma and the body. So these three terms, Kshetra, Kshetrajna, and Jnana, are introduced, and these are important for us to know in connection with Atma and Anatma. Kshetrajna is Atma, Kshetra is the Anatma, and Jnana is the knowledge held by the Kshetrajna or the Atma about its body, the Anatma. So with this, I wanted to conclude this particular PPT. We'll now go forward. But I want you to contemplate, okay, after the class today, in the coming week, contemplate on what do you think we can draw parallels to in our research, in our PhD work. Can we draw parallels from these things to any of the concepts we need to deal with, let's say in human resource management? You people are in HR, anybody else is in some other field, they can draw parallels. I want you to think along those lines too as we go through them. So this PPT is completed. I'll go to the next one, unless you have any questions on this itself. Anybody?
So I had two questions that I wanted to ask.
Yes,
So, sir, one thing is that when we are saying that the Paramatma already has all the matter within them, then why is the classification not like that Paramatma contains Atma and Anatma? And not like, and why is it like we are first distinguishing between Atma and Anatma and then saying with that within the Atma there are two types?
yeah, good, very good question. So although Paramatma includes everything, so all Anatma is also included in Paramatma and comes out from him. He's the source of that. We still distinguish to say that there is something which doesn't have consciousness. Within that larger entity, there is a particular identity to the entity which has consciousness, experiences consciousness. And there is one which doesn't have consciousness and all the other properties which the Atma has. Just to show that distinction, we show them separately like this. Otherwise, Anatma is also a part of the Paramatma.
Oh, okay, sir.
Only for,
And this, and
yeah,
And
sorry.
there was one more thing that so this is more of a confirmation that I kind of want to have. So we're saying that within one body, there's Jivatma as well as there's Paramatma, and these two are distinctly present. Oh,
Yes, yes. These two are
okay, sir.
distinct from each other. At the same time, see, there are two variations in this understanding. One variation is that the Atma and Paramatma exist, Jivatma, Paramatma exist side by side, as if in space, like there are two objects we put in the two speakers I have in front of me. The two speakers are
Mm-hmm.
side by side. Okay, or two birds. The analogy is given in one of the Upanishads as two birds sitting on a tree. Okay, there is a big bird and a small bird, a father bird and a son bird, or something like that. And the smaller bird is doing all kinds of act, like eating fruits of the tree and so on, doing different things. And the big bird is just watching it. Okay, so there are two distinct entities like that. That is one understanding of this. The other understanding is that this Paramatma is actually intrinsic to the Jivatma, means inside. It is not separate. It's within the
Mm-hmm.
Jivatma because Paramatma pervades everything. It's present in everything. There's nothing where, in Gita also, in many places, this concept of all pervasive nature. Like in ninth chapter, he says, Maya tatamidam sarvam jagadavyakta murtina. I pervade everything in this universe. Everything there includes the Jivatma also.
Mm-hmm.
So the other understanding is that Paramatma is inside it, not sitting separately as a separate object. So both are variations of that. It doesn't matter, but both are in the body. Yes. And both
Okay,
are
sir.
always together. Both are always bound to each other. The Jivatma doesn't know it, but Paramatma always knows it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good. Shall I move forward now? In the chat also, yes, you have put something. Good. Now I'll go to the next PPT. Yes, so here I want to introduce these two very important concepts. Okay, I've referred to them earlier in my earlier two PPTs, but I didn't explain. Now we will go into detail because these are very, very important to understand the next concept of yoga, samsara and moksha. And this is actually a very fundamental theme in not only Bhagavad-gita, but in all the Upanishads, and of course in the larger Indian knowledge system too. All the other darshanas also touch upon them in some way or the other. Okay, so now we'll talk about states of existence. The Jivatma's avastha. Avastha is the Sanskrit word for what we would say in English as state of existence or situation. So the Jivatma's avastha can be broadly of two types. Baddha avastha or samsara avastha and mukta avastha or moksha. Okay, so the word moksha and mukti and moksha mean the same thing. At least the way we will use it, we'll use them interchangeably. Mukta means the state of being in moksha. Mukta. और in Hindi मुक्त मुक्त हो गया विमुक्त हो गया बद्ध बद्ध means bound, right? Samsara means what? I'll come to that. So both of them refer to the state of consciousness. Okay, earlier we spoke about consciousness. So now again, let me go back to that word. In Sanskrit we say chaitanya or chit, and in English we say consciousness. What does consciousness mean? Consciousness is a property in us by which we have awareness. Consciousness means actually awareness. We are aware of different things. We can feel things, right? If somebody touches me, I can feel it. There is a feeler, there's somebody who feels. And that person who feels, that is me, has the property by which that feeling happens. And that property is consciousness or awareness. So, both Baddhavastha and Muktavastha, they are not referring to a physical change of state. It refers to a change of state in the consciousness. Okay, being in samsara or being in mukta fundamentally refers to change in the awareness, states of consciousness. So when our consciousness is absorbed in matter, prakriti, matter, when I say prakriti, I'm again using the word in a specific sense of dead matter, anatma. So when I'm absorbed in matter, in my material enjoyment, thinking that I am the body and what makes the body happy is what makes me happy, when I'm in that state of thinking and my consciousness or awareness is of that nature, then I'm say I am baddha avastha. I'm in baddha avastha or I'm in the samsara. But when my consciousness, my awareness is absorbed in the realization of the existence of God, the presence of God, I can feel Paramatma, I can actually perceive God everywhere and within me, outside, and I have full awareness of God, then I'm mukta. And that awareness is a natural state. It's not a, see, right now, for example, if you tell me that, okay, right now also don't you have awareness of God? Yes, I do, but it's more theoretical. Means I know I'm reading books, I'm talking to students, I'm talking about God. I go to a temple, I stand in front of God, I say prayers to God. So, yeah, to that extent, my consciousness is absorbed in God. And to that extent, I'm experiencing moksha or mukta. Means, and that at that time, when I'm actually thinking about God and so on, my mind is not absorbed in matter, or my consciousness is not absorbed in matter. It is absorbed in something which is eternally mukta. And therefore, I am at that moment experiencing mukta, moksha. But here, when we say Jivatma state of existence is moksha or being mukta, we mean continuously like that, permanently in that state of alertness, that state of awareness of God. Means naturally, without any effort. Okay, now I have to make effort to think about God. But when I don't have to make effort and it spontaneously is existing, that is the state of being in moksha. Is it clear? So I'll come to those terms too. But is this much clear what I said, the difference between being in Baddha state and Mukta state?
Yes,
Okay.
sir.
Yeah. In the Baddha state, you can talk about, this is very common. Now, even Adi Shankara talks about these three states. And actually, it comes from him. His original works, they highlight these three states. And the fourth state of being in Samadhi. So, Jagriti, wakefulness, like we are now. Right now, we are talking to each other. We are in a state of wakefulness. So, when we go to sleep, we experience the other two states, Swapna and Sushupti, right? First, we experience Swapna. Immediately after we fall asleep, what is called as falling asleep, we go into another state of existence, which is very different from our Jagrati state. There, we do different activities. Sometimes we retain the same identity. In my dream, I'll be Ajit and I'm doing things as Ajit. But sometimes I may not be also. I may have assumed some other identity and doing something, thinking I'm that thing, right? So that is swapna. And in that state too, I experience emotions, I experience all kinds of sensations, feelings. I am hurt, I'm happy, I'm sad, I'm frightened, I'm excited. All those things happen in the dream state. The third state is sushupti. In sushupti or deep sleep, I'm completely cut off, right? I'm not aware of myself. I have no awareness of my identity as either Ajit or anything else, or as Jivatma, nothing. No identity there. It's just a state as if, completely, it's complete darkness, a state of complete darkness or complete rest, you can say, putting it positively. It's a state of complete rest where the mind shuts off, everything shuts off. In the Swapna state, the mind, the brain, everything are active. The brain also is active in the Swapna state, but in the state of Sushupti, almost not active. Of course, neural scientists may say the brain is still active and something is happening there. After all, it's a biological organ, so blood flow may still be happening and neurons may still be showing signals and all that. But we are not concerned about that. As far as the mind and the consciousness are concerned, the consciousness is shut off in Sushupti. And that actually occupies or should occupy for a healthy individual a long part of the sleep. If a person sleeps for 8 hours, then maybe 6 hours at least must be in that state, Sushupti, for the health of the body, the material health to remain good. That's what is recommended, right? Sushupti is the longer period, the deep sleep period. Swapna is much shorter for small periods, although it may seem like a long thing when you wake up from your sleep and because you remember your dream and it looks like you had a very long dream. But actually, in the total time that you slept, you experienced only a small part of it as dream. You experienced a long part as sushupti. And we are completely unaware of anything at that time. Now, to give you some more, instances where we experience sushupti, it's not only when we intentionally go to sleep, sometimes a person becomes unconscious. Okay, that can happen because, let's say, someone is going through a surgery, okay, some kind of surgery on their body. And typically, what do doctors do? Because surgery involves cutting the body in some place, it's going to be very painful. So they give anesthesia. Okay, I've gone through it a few times. Maybe some of you also have gone through it. So in anesthesia, there are two types of anesthesia broadly. One is called local anesthesia, in which that part of the body alone becomes numb and otherwise the person is very conscious. The other is called global anesthesia, in which the whole body, everything becomes numb and even the brain is put into a state of deep sleep. Everything is shut off. So that person completely loses connection. So in one of my surgeries, one of the surgeries I went through for my hand, where I had a fracture. I had a fracture and then I had to go through a surgery to repair that portion. And I was put into global anesthesia. And I can tell you the experience was like this. The doctor came and they started the operation. They first started speaking to me and then they took the syringe and then I saw them injecting the syringe into my hand in some place. And I only remembered that much. Until that point, I remember them injecting the syringe. And the next instant, I was awake again and the surgery was done. So it took some 1 hour. In that 1 hour, I had no idea what was going on. For me, that 1 hour portion was actually zero in my time experience. I just saw the syringe, and the next moment I was awake again, and they were all looking at me and asking me, "What is your name? Tell me your name." They were trying to see if my consciousness has become normal. And they were asking, "Who are you? Where are you coming from? Tell me your father's name." Asking questions to test my consciousness. So, this is Sushupti. In Sushupti, I had no idea what's happening. That is deep sleep. Now, this is experience of deep sleep. Now, this is not death, right? We are still in the body. Everything is still there. Everything is intact. It's just that we experience that state and we come back to Jagrati. So, in every 24-hour cycle, a normal human being goes through all the three states: Jagrati, Swapna, Sushupti, again and again. Right? It's repetition. We go through all the three states in every cycle, right? And sometimes we sleep in the daytime also, so we go through it multiple times. Now, the fourth state listed on the right side is called Samadhi or Turiya. Turiya is a state which is the diametric opposite of Shuddhi. It's a state of full alertness in which the consciousness is in its best state. It's fully alert. It's free from all material contamination. in which that state, the person has completely withdrawn from matter. Consciousness is completely withdrawn. The Atma has drawn itself away from Anatma completely and experiences its own natural consciousness in the best possible way. That is perfect samadhi. So naturally, when the Atma experiences itself, it also experiences its being a part of God, Bhagavan. So it's experiencing Bhagavan too. It's called Turiya in Sanskrit because in Sanskrit the word Turiya means fourth. It means the number four. Anything which is the fourth. Suppose I'm putting four objects and I'm counting. This is the first, Prathamam, Dvitiyam, Tritiyam, Chaturtham. Chaturtham is also called Turiyam. Turiyam means the fourth item in any list of items. So Samadhi is also called Turiya because it is the fourth among the four states of existence. So Turiya is the goal, means everybody wants to, everybody means the yogi, the person who is in the path of yoga, not those who don't do yoga. Those who don't do yoga only experience the Jagriti, Swapna, Sushupti. So those who do yoga, their goal is to ultimately experience Samadhi. Now, within the Samadhi, there are different variations depending on which path of yoga you do and what your understanding of yoga is. That is different. But all of them have that state of, or aim for that state of pure consciousness when they can experience their real self in whatever way. So, have you all understood this? Is there any doubt on whatever we said? Anyone? Vedangi, Asha.
So, I'm a little bit like I'm unable to understand this thing. So let's say if I'm saying that I'm 24 hours conscious about, let's say like I'm saying that I'm 24 hours conscious about the Paramatma, and if I'm doing that, a part of my mind is occupied there, then will I not be able to present in the in the material things that I'm doing?
Ah, good question. Excellent question. Well, in that state of full alertness, what happens is that even though you're continuously conscious of Bhagavan and yourself, your real self, your alertness is in such a level that you can simultaneously do all other activities too. To give you a close analogy, to just to help you, it's easy to understand. It's not difficult. It's not an abstract thing. Let's take a mother with a newborn child, a baby. Okay. Now, any mother, okay, you especially an Indian mother, okay, I will say Bharatiya, because now Western, Westerners somehow a lot of contamination in the mind. They don't have their natural feelings too, many of them. So, particularly in India, we see this a mother and a child, a very natural bond, a natural love between a mother and a child. The mother, once the baby is born, is always thinking of the child. The mind, when she is in her, especially in her Jagrati state, from the time she is awake to the time she goes to sleep, she's only thinking of her baby, right? And even when she's sleeping, she's holding the baby nearby because in case the baby wakes up and wants some milk, she's ready to give her milk to the baby. She will feed the baby in her sleep also. So 24 hours, you can say, practically speaking, except when she goes to Sushupti, she's thinking about her baby. But does it mean that she is not doing any other activity? She does all other activities too, right? She attends to her baby and also does all the household activities. She's cooking for the husband, she's cooking for the family, she's washing the clothes, she's cleaning the house, whatever. She's talking to relatives. Okay, whatever activities that a woman does, she's doing, but her mind is always thinking of the baby. Is it correct or not?
Yes. Yes.
So it is something like that. Just giving you an analogy,
Mm-hmm.
in pure samadhi, there is alertness is so because consciousness is bright. There's clarity, complete clarity, right? The best clarity you can get in Jagrati when your mind is very clear, you're able to concentrate on different activities. In that state too, even if you're not in that samadhi we are talking about here, even in a clear material state, we are able to consciously handle multiple things. We may focus on something momentarily, but if something else comes in, we are able to attend to it too. We are able to switch between different things. Alertness is very,
Mm-hmm.
samadhi is like that.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Good. Any other questions? Shall I go forward now? Okay. So now let's go a little bit more into this to seal it up. So the word baddha means bound to matter, and mukta means free from bondage. And here, I'll complete this slide. And why is it like this? So in the baddha avastha, there is misery, there is suffering, there is restriction. We are bound. But in the mukta avastha, there is complete freedom. That is real freedom. Freedom means our consciousness is connected to our real self. When we are aware of our real self and aware of God, and the consciousness is completely clean and concentration is perfect, clarity is high, that is freedom. Currently, the way we are not in that state. We are actually struggling to be free. We're struggling for more clarity. We're struggling for peace. Yeah, we want our mind to become more peaceful than it is, but it's not. We get disease, or we get, even if we don't get disease, we get stress because of our work. So many demands come, conflicts come. There's conflict between me and my neighbor, there's conflict between me and my fellow student. There's so many conflicts, disagreements, anxieties. What I want is not fulfilled. So there is suffering, restriction. That is not there in the Mukta Avastha. In the Mukta Avastha, there's complete knowledge, there's complete awareness of reality. So even if things don't go the way that I think they should go, there's no misery. There's still freedom. The person doesn't become miserable. So the person in the Baddha Avastha experiences Punarjanma. So going from one body to the next body and having another birth and a different identity, like I just described in the earlier part of today's class, this happens in the Baddha Avastha, and this happens as per the laws of karma. Okay, we will talk about karma and karma phala in a lot of detail. But for now, karma is what drives Punarjanma. But in the Moksha Avastha, in the Mukta Avastha, this is not there. Now, Punarjanma, if it happens by that person's will. That person may appear again in the material manifestation in front of other human beings. But that person, if they appear, is because they have given themselves to that particular service or that particular state willingly. I want to appear and do these activities. So they are free to do that. That freedom is present. Can become a mukta. Means the punar person like us, we are now in the baddha avastha, but we have the ability to become a mukta. The person in the mukta avastha never becomes baddha because of that knowledge. That knowledge protects that person, that full realization. That person never comes into samsara again. Now, this is where yoga comes in. Yoga is for us, it's not for the muktas. Yoga is for the jivatmas to help them to become a mukta. That's the purpose of yoga. To go from the samsara avastha, the baddha avastha, to the moksha avastha. The Nitya Muktas are people who already are in that state. So they can help others. They are the people who teach others how to do yoga. Right? They are supposed to. That's their primary occupation. They are supposed to help. Okay, now to sum this up, the Paramatma is a Nitya Mukta. Just like the Jivatmas who are Nitya Mukta, the Paramatma is the fundamental Nitya Mukta. Means he's always Nitya Mukta. He never is Baddha. Although he appears before us like Krishna or Ram or whatever, in different ways God manifests himself. But even though he comes in our midst, he never comes under the influence of Maya or the three gunas of Maya, which will be coming later. But I'm mentioning it now. It's the three gunas of Maya or Prakriti which keep us in this state. But the Paramatma is never under that. The Paramatma is always above it. He is a Nitya Mukta. Okay, now to help us understand all this in a very neat way, the analogy is given of a person in a prison and a person outside the prison. So in any city, we have a prison and we have a lot of area outside the prison. The prison is only a small part of the city. Now, in that small part of the city, there are prisoners living in the prison because they did something by which they found their way into the prison. They are not supposed to be there. Nobody is supposed to be in the prison. Ideally, the government would want, or any country would want, that nobody is in the prison. Right? That's the ideal state. But still, there are some people in the prison in every country. So why are they there? Because they are not following something or they did something wrong and they are put there. Now, there is a way for them to come out of the prison, and one is to complete the sentence. When they are in the prison, they are given a particular sentence that you have to be here for so many years and do all these things, and then we will let you out. Now, that is one way to come out. That's the way to moksha. That is their yoga. Means they have to do all those things in the way that the prison has told them, and then they can come out. If they don't do that in the prison, if they start fighting with the others and start misbehaving and start doing criminal activities in the prison, like some prisoners do, then their prison term may get extended further. They may actually have to stay for more time till they become fully reformed. At least in a good country where the laws are followed, that's how it would be. But on the other hand, if the prisoner becomes a good prisoner, and this provision is there even in India, the prisoner's behavior in the prison is such that they start doing, good activities which go beyond what is expected of them in the prison. They start helping their fellow prisoners, they behave in a good manner, they cooperate very much with the staff. They do all that, then the prison term can actually be reduced. They can get a lighter statement. The statement can be reduced, and this provision is present in the law, right? So, this is what yoga is about. Yoga is not merely about doing dharma and following the law as it is, but doing things which are beyond that, becoming even better than what is expected. And that helps us to quickly come out of the prison and become moksha. So, this analogy of prisoner, prison house, and the free land. And once they come out of the prison house, that person who is outside, the citizen who is not in the prison, has unlimited freedom, okay, so to speak, compared to the person in the prison. The prison person has only that much freedom, but the person outside has enormous freedom. They can do whatever they like, right? Within the laws, of course. So, in the same way, the Nitya Mukta is eternally free. The word Sadhana Mukta is present there just to show the difference between two types of Jivatma in the Mukta state also. Those who never were in the samsara and those who were in the samsara for some time and then they became Mukta. That's the difference. Good. So, any questions on this slide? We can go forward or?
So I have one question.
Yeah.
So generally, if I look at, if I look at an average person and I look at their life, it's a mix of happiness and sadness.
Yeah.
But usually, whenever we are describing, whenever in a spiritual context we are describing samsara or we are describing the Buddha state, we always talk about misery and suffering.
Yes, what a very good question. Very good question. I should have answered it earlier itself, but this is because, let's say, now the question that you're trying to ask is this. Let's say I'm in a party. Okay, everything is good. My health is perfect. I go to a nice party on a, let's say, cruise, and I'm with my friends and I'm eating good food and listening to music, and nobody's doing anything wrong. And everybody's doing good things. I'm speaking about good things and all that. We're all happy. So why do you say I'm suffering? Where is the suffering? So you can say I'm suffering when I'm in the hospital or I'm like, having a cold or something like that. But I'm not suffering when I'm in a party. So why do you say I'm suffering? The answer is this, that it's just like the fish who is on land. I gave the analogy of the fish today who is on the land and who is wearing an oxygen mask and having to breathe and is given artificial things to make it survive on the land somehow. Now, is that not suffering? Now, for the fish, from the fish perspective, it is definitely suffering because if the fish were in the water, it won't have to put all those artificial things, first of all, and it can move around very freely in the water the way it wants. Even though it is not dying on the land, it is still being able to survive and live and eat food and breathe oxygen and so on because those devices are present. Not being in its natural state restricts its activities. It's not able to do what it can actually do, what it's actually entitled to. It's not experiencing its most natural happiness. Similarly, even though I am on a cruise ship and experiencing a lot of fun with my friends and frolicking and having party and so on, I'm still not in the best state that I can be. I'm in some compromised state. That is why it is suffering. It is suffering relative to what I can actually be, what I actually deserve to be. I can be in a much
Okay.
happier state, right? So, moksha avastha is happiness which is much beyond that happiness that I experience in that party or in that resort, right? That is why it is said to be suffering. It's a relative word.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
So another example that can also be given to understand this is like this, that let's say, okay, we know about the concentration camps that the Nazis built and put the Jews in, right?
Yes,
All
sir.
of you know this. Vedangi, you read about this. Ashita, you
Yes,
read
sir.
about this, right? All of us know this. So now the people who, if you read, for example, the work of this guy, famous guy, what's his name? Viktor Frankl. Have you heard of
Mhm.
the book, Viktor Frankl?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Man's search for meaning.
What's it called? The
Man's
A
book is
search
man's
for
search for
meaning book.
meaning. That's
Man's
what
Search
the
for
book that
Meaning.
he wrote.
Yeah.
Man's Search for Meaning. In that he describes about his experience and how he sort of coped with that life and how he got used to it. So now in that state, let's say somebody is in a concentration camp. Now, initially, obviously, they're going to be miserable because they are put there and they have been in a normal life. But after some time, what will happen is they get used to it. That concentration camp, because they're not dead. I mean, they're still alive. They're suffering, no doubt, but that suffering becomes normal. They get used to that. That's what happened to Viktor Frankl. He started coping with it. He figured out mentally how to adjust to that and how to think about it. Mentally, he
Mhm.
made adjustments, right? He made adjustments to his own perceptions. His state of mind changed. So he then started coping with it, and he says that is the power he gained over. He got power even over his own captors, the people who were binding him there, and he started influencing them, and then that became his freedom for that time. So he started experiencing. He figured out how to experience happiness even in that state, right? So now that's exactly what happens. So we are in a concentration camp, but we have been here since time immemorial. So this has become normal for us. So when we go to a party, it looks like happiness. We are creating that thing. We have coped with it so well that we're not able to realize that there is a much better state than this. Just like this person in the concentration camp may forget, let's say Viktor Frankl forgot that there is something outside the concentration camp and his memory went away, and the only memory he has is of the memory of being in the concentration camp. Then
Mhm.
he would not aspire to become free also, right? He would only
Yeah.
aspire to look forward to those moments when he's experiencing relatively better states within the concentration camp than the relatively worse states. Correct, no?
Mhm. Yes, sir.
That's how it is.
Yes. Thank you.
So we should understand. So concentration camp is also a good analogy to understand this difference. So once we realize, it's through Bhagavad-gita and similar texts, and even in the other religions, they talk about connecting with God and going to God and all that, right? Even Christianity talks about it. But of course, they don't go into all these details. They have a very sort of a surface level understanding. So here, we're able to become very, very much aware of what is meant by that moksha avastha. Again and again, Bhagavad Gita talks about it. Again and again and again, it comes repeatedly in so many places. And we will also go into those shlokas a little later. And Bhagavad Gita talks about them, moksha avastha, in some detail. But if you look at Bhagavatam or Vishnu Purana or the other Puranas, it's much more detailed, much more detailed about moksha avastha. And of course, also about samsara avastha. So there, these things become even more clear, very clear. Good? Are we good? Should go forward now? Okay.
So
Ah,
when we say that yoga is beyond this thing, our eudaimonic happiness, so we
yeah.
are talking about this mukta avastha.
Hmm.
So are we talking about this mukta avastha when we say that
Yes, yeah,
yoga
yes.
goes beyond eudaimonic happiness?
Yoga takes us to that. Yoga is what takes us to that mukta avastha. Now, the process of yoga itself, okay, so that's something I should say, that the goal of yoga is to become mukta, to reach that state. But the process of yoga itself produces happiness. It's not that, we have to struggle, and eventually one day we get mukti and then we become happy. It's not like a 0-1 state. It's like as we do yoga, right from day one, we start experiencing that freedom. Mukti is a gradual process and eventually reaches perfection. But even as we experience it, we start experiencing the freedom gradually opening up. Gradually, we go from being fully ignorant to become fully knowledgeable. So there is moksha experience even as we go through yoga, particularly bhakti yoga, even more than the other two, karma and jnana yoga. In bhakti yoga, the happiness experienced even in the beginning stages is much more. And so the faith or the conviction builds up much faster. Does it address your question, Ashit? Yeah. Now we will look at the whole thing as one picture. There is Bhagavan. We spoke about Paramatma. Bhagavan is the universal being. We spoke about the Jivatma. And then we spoke about Anatma, Prakriti, or material energy. We also use the term material energy for Prakriti or the Anatma. So you can think that the whole of Bhagavad Gita ultimately revolves around these three things, these three ontological entities. You can say the ontology of Bhagavad Gita revolves around these three things, Bhagavan, Jivatma, and Prakriti. And all three are connected to each other. Now, Bhagavan is in the state of moksha, as you see in the drawing there. The state of moksha is always with Bhagavan. The Jivatma, some of the Jivatmas are in moksha, the remaining are in samsara. Or I should put it the other way. Some of the Jivatmas are in samsara, a relatively smaller number, whereas a much larger number actually are Nitya Muktas, are always in moksha. Now, the interaction between Jivatma and Prakriti is what is called samsara. So, how does that word samsara come? Samsara word comes from the Sanskrit verb sarati. Sar means to travel or to move. Samsarati means moves or transmigrates. We say transmigration in English. Punarjanma. Moves from one body to another body, one state of existence to another state of existence, right? I am Ajit. In the next life, I may be called by some other name. I don't know what it is. So, this continuous movement is called samsara. That's how the name samsara comes for material existence. So, the interaction between Jivatma and Prakriti is what constitutes samsara. Whereas the interaction between Jivatma and Paramatma is the path of yoga. That's what is yoga. From going from samsara to moksha is the path of yoga. And this Jivatma Paramatma interaction is the basis for moksha, you can say, is what leads to moksha. In the same way, Prakriti and Paramatma also interact because Prakriti, after all, is an energy of Paramatma. Is one of his Shaktis. He has innumerable Shaktis, and one of them is Prakriti. And that Prakriti is what we experience as our reality. Now, this is where the three terms come, Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, right? Three gunas of Prakriti. So we encounter these terms, three gunas, and in today's management research also, some people have published papers identifying scales to measure triguna personality, and all those things. This is where it comes, connection with Prakriti. The three gunas of Prakriti. Okay, this is referred to in the Bhagavad Gita many times. In fact, out of 701 shlokas, I sort of identified the shlokas which pertain to the three gunas only. Nearly 80 shlokas, 80 to 85 shlokas are devoted to only talking about the three gunas of Prakriti. So whole theory is there. So he will theory with a lot of sub theories inside this whole thing, and we will go into details there. So this is the full picture. The full picture of Bhagavad Gita can be summarized in some sense with this slide. The three ontological fundamental entities, Bhagavan, Jivatma, Prakriti, and then samsara, moksha, and yoga, and the three gunas of Prakriti. So with all these terms, you can say all the 709, 701 shlokas somehow pertain to one or more of these things. Anything else which may be there in Gita are just supporting shlokas. Like Sanjaya speaks something, or Arjuna asks a question, or Duryodhana speaks something. They may not directly pertain to these things, but they are just supporting there. They're just part of the story. That's all. Good. Shall I move forward? Okay. Now we have only 10 minutes left in today's class. So I won't go to the next concept. The next concept I had in mind was these three terms. I'll take them in the next class. Shara, Akshara, and Purushottama. So this will help us to understand whatever we heard so far better, even better. But up till what we have done today, any further questions? Or does Sarthak have anything to ask? Sarthak, are you still there?
Pranam, sir.
Pranam. Anything
Sir,
from
no
your...
questions.
Okay,
No, sir,
good.
no questions.
Okay, good. Thank you for being in the class. Would you want to clarify anything more than what I said? You already have heard all these things. So Sarthak actually has gone through all this with me earlier. Since last 2 years, he's been attending the classes where we covered all these things. So Sarthak, would you want to elaborate on whatever I said today to help us all understand this even better? Give some example or something.
Pranam, sir. Sorry, my internet connection got a little unstable in the last minute.
Okay, no, I said, would you like to add anything to what I said, just to make something more clear, or anything, any reflection from your side, or nothing for today?
Sir, there was one analogy which came up to my mind, which I have heard obviously, but it was regarding the difference between Atma and Anatma. It was regarding Vedangi's question. She asked first that why do we say initially that Atma is separate from Anatma, and then when we say that Paramatma includes Anatma as well.
Yeah,
So so
yeah,
one analogy which we talked about was that of the fire and the candle that you
right,
spoke about, the
yeah,
distinction. So,
mm,
so in sense of how the Paramatma includes the Anatma as well. So the analogy of clay and pot, that is a widely used example in Vedanta. So if we were to begin that, okay, we hold a pot and we say that this pot is right now here now, but we see there are some broken pots. There are some very good pots. There are so different kinds of pots, good pots, bad pots. So
mm,
instead of saying that, okay, so we see a lot of variation over here, temporariness. Some are very good, some are bad. Then we said, no, there is something which is uh, higher, which is more eternal than this pot. It was present even before the pot was there. It was there even when the pot is there, and it remains even after the pot gets destroyed. So there is something which is higher than the pot. Then we ask, okay, what is it? So we say, okay, there is something called as clay. So then
right,
we ask that, okay, where to look for that clay? Is it, so we say it's in the pot. So we then investigate, oh, is it inside the pot? No, no, no. It actually makes up the pot. So step number one is creation of clay. Step two is that, okay, there is clay inside, as in there is clay in the pot. And then we say that there is clay everywhere in the pot. There
very
is
good.
no, there is no position in the pot or no point in the pot where there is no clay. So
Yes,
now we reach step two that, okay, clay is present everywhere in the pot. Now, when we inspect carefully, we'll realize that it is actually the pot which is in the clay. So now we'll take this as clay to be as Brahman or Atma and pot to be as Anatma or Prakriti, whatever. So now we say that, okay, there is some underlying substrate which is ever free, and what all we see, it's all temporary and it would come and go. There is something which outlasts it. Now there is this difference. Purnam adaha, Purnam idam. That is Purnam. The Atma, that is Purnam. And we say that, okay, uh, we'll investigate this also. We step two, we say that clay is everywhere in the pot. Then we say actually the pot is inside the clay. There is the pot is present in the clay, not the other
yes,
way around.
correct,
And
correct.
when we closely inspect, if I take away the clay from the pot, then pot no longer remains. So
Yes,
there is no separate reality as such a pot.
yes,
So the Atma is the underlying reality for Anatma as well. So first we distinguish between Atma and Anatma, but on closer investigation we come to know that everything is based on that Atma itself, its existence itself.
wonderful.
So
Excellent, Sarthak. Your explanation is perfect, and I should have gone into that too. It's called the Upadana Karana, the underlying or the root cause. So the Paramatma here is the Upadana Karan for everything. And like you correctly said, everything is present in it. Just like the pot is present in the clay. Everything is present. Like we say, for example, this garment. In Nyaya, this example is given that this garment is present in its threads. The tantu is the karanam. The tantu. Tantu means thread. The thread is the source or you can say the fundamental cause. And the garment is weaved from that. The garment comes later. And the threads get together. So now, normally in colloquial language, we would say the threads are in the garment. But no, more fundamentally speaking, the garment is in the thread. The garment lies in the thread. So we may say that the clay is in the pot. No, but actually the pot is in the clay. That's a more correct way of understanding it. So that's what we mean. The anatma is a part of the paramatma. Paramatma is the upadana karan for everything. And the anatma is the karya, is the effect. Yes, very good. Don't worry, Ashita and Vedangi, if you didn't perfectly understand this, it's all right. But what Sarthak explained is technically correct. It's the correct way to understand this. The fundamental
Thank you.
cause. The fundamental cause.
Thank
So
you, sir.
did you pick up this example from your classes there in the ashram?
Sir,
Because
so I was hearing two talks from Swami Sarvapriyananda. He is the pontiff at the Vedanta Society at New York.
Any Vedantic scholar or teacher will be able to explain this the same way. Yeah.
So he uses this analogy to explain the Purnam Shanti mantra, which you referred to in the Ishavasya Upanishad.
Yes, yes. Yeah, I said shloka. I mean, that's what I meant, the Shanti mantra.
Yes. Because it correlates that
yes.
there is no separate reality called as Prakriti. It's the underlying reality is Atma itself, which is the substrate for Prakriti.
Pervades everything. Yes.
Yes.
It pervades everything.
Yes, sir.
Good.
Thank you, sir.
Anything further from Ashita Vedangi, or shall we close for today? We can do the Antya Mangalam and close. Vedangi,
Nothing
yes?
from my end.
Okay, good. So I'll close now, and in the coming week, I would again advise both of you to spend time on contemplating on this, and of course, keep connecting with your research papers too. You might want to do your thesis work on some particular topic. So how can that be connected to this? Just contemplate on it. If any ideas come, we can discuss that. We can also connect separately. We don't have to connect only in this class. You can write to me or call me. I'll give you my number. I don't know if you have my number. I'll put it in the chat here. You can save. And Vedangi and Ashita also, please share your numbers with me later through email so that I can save it and call you if required.
Sure, sir.
This is my number. And you can save this to your phone and call me whenever, if there's anything urgent, you can always call me or message me, and we can meet during the week too if required. Good. ॐ स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्तां न्यायेन मार्गेण महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यो शुभमस्तु नित्यं लोकाः समस्ताः सुखिनो भवन्तु। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। धन्यवाद। थैंक यू।